Jain. Dr. Davish Jain is a dynamic and forward-looking industrialist who has inherited the vision and foresight of his illustrious father, Mr. N. M. Jain, widely acknowledged as a living legend in India's oilseed sector. In a span of 30 years, Davish Jain has come to be regarded as one of the most knowledgeable agribusiness specialists, having extensive contacts with the key global players. For two successive terms, he held with aplomb the key assignment as a chairman, and in the year 2008 and 9 was nominated as president of COOIT, or Central Organization for Oil Industry and Trade, the sole apex body of the entire oilseed trade and industry sector of India. He has come to be widely appreciated for his innovative initiatives to put Indian oilseed sector on firm footing by drawing up a roadmap for sustained increase in oilseed production as well as productivity. Dr. David Jain, the time is yours.
My greetings from India to the beautiful people of Indonesia. Indonesia is a land of lovely beaches, temples, cultural and great heritage with the world's fifth largest population. I deem it both my pleasure and privilege to share my thoughts with the speakers and the distinguished guests and the participants of 2020 Manado International Conference. Friends, the economic, business and management are three pillars of any country's parameters of financial, social health status. Let me spend a few minutes on the subject of my address. Putting the topic in perspective as an industrialist, to me, economies are ecosystems where firms, that is, businesses, operate, and in order for them to be viable and successful, they need professional management. For me, economies are created by individuals, while the businesses are set up and managed to meet the aspirations, demands, needs, and wants of these individuals. The World War II was the most significant point in the history that changed the complete dynamics of the then existing world order. While it had devastating effect on the human life, but it did give roaring opportunities for rebuilding of economies. Management and economic theoretical framework saw a major restructuring. Since some of our countries, Asian countries particularly, were affected but the most, this is of great significance to us. Traditional boundaries were broken and the world was moving towards a free economy. Maximizing wealth creation through optimal resource utilization became the key in management theory. The world has seen more development in the area of commerce and technology during the last 20 years compared to the past 200 years. The coupling of national economies with global ecosystem has been one of the most significant development after the World War II. Trade between nations grew unabated, rapidly till the halt created by the current pandemic COVID-19. Today, the value of exports has assumed enormous proportions. As per the World Bank, the total value of goods exported is about 25% of the oil production. The current global ecosystem does not exchange today finished goods, but also intermediate goods and services. The significant and probably the most significant of all activities in the last 4 decades is the economic power and strength shift, shifted from the Western Hemisphere to the Eastern, predominantly led by China, Japan, and India. In 2018, the Chinese GDP in nominal terms stood at $13.37 trillion, just separated from the American GDP by $7.21 trillion. In 2020, this gap is expected to reduce to 7.05 trillion, and after 3 years, it would be $5.47 trillion only. In purchasing power parity, that is PPP terms, which is basically a macroeconomic parameter used to compare and bring two countries on the same platform using a basket of goods. In PPP terms, China is the biggest economy with its GDP of over $25.27 trillion. Friends, let's see what has happened over the last many years and take a window between 2011 to 2019. There was a very interesting story. Whenever the global trade increases, global GDP also increases, which means that there is very strong linkage and direct correlation between trade, import, export, and overall gross domestic product. Let's see what has happened in the period of 2015 to 2019. As you can see, the graph is very clear. We had growth all along and it peaked till 2017, third quarter, after which it started to fall and gone into negative territory in 2019 Q4. You may ask me why I'm showing this. I am showing this because this is how the world trade volume has been impacted by geopolitical situations, and there was a sign of US trade war and tariff war, which in 2019 dips below the line. Now let me come to my country, India. What does India import from the world? Is evident that maximum dollars spending area is the fuel bill, followed by many products, but primarily a lot of electronics and some fertilizers and also edible oils. When it comes to exports, we have a similar look as our imports. It is true because we have a lot of processing capacity for crude petroleum in India. The import and export data by countries is incidentally reported by the United Nations Comtrade database. This picture of how India's GDP growth rate featured in the last 4 years, it has been steadily decreasing year on year. The reason of the decline of the GDP growth rates have unfortunately all piled up in the last 4 years, and now compounding is done but 2020 COVID era. At the global scenario, which is presently not very healthy, and each country follows a foreign trade policy that impacts global trade between countries. Let's examine for a moment four major countries' trade policies and that what are the significant points that will determine the shape of economy of the world and in times to come. The Trump administration in the US economic plan, which prevailed on China towards correcting the balance of US trade. Trump administration reviews membership in the World Trade Organizations. The president's trade policy emphasizes breaking down unfair trade barriers in all and resulted to protect American economy, which was losing to the Chinese. And what was the Chinese trade policy? Let's have a look. It focused always on selective adaptation. That means they always believed in what suited the Chinese people most. They ensured the decline, delicate balance between the liberalization and use of industrial policy, supported its selected economic sectors. This was all about, in some manner, getting people come in and invest. And then, of course, the open door policy, which started in China in 1978 in the manufacturing sector to attract investment. Today, China, just before the coronavirus, was the world's factory. Coming to the Russian trade policy, an economy which was very strong and military based and was almost destroyed in glasnost, Russia, which has been stepping up security participation in the Asia Pacific. The country has recorded significant regular trade surpluses since 1998 due to perestroika to its mineral resources, including petroleum. Russia is still searching for the best model for interaction with external players like China, the European Union, the US, Turkey, etc., and is expected to be resolved market issues so as the trade increases. Coming to the Indian trade policy, my country follows a very different socialist and yet a very progressive foreign trade policy. The Indian government extended the existing foreign trade policy till the end of 2021 amid the outlook of coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown to contain and spread. Up to 2 billion Indian rupees of purchases done by the government of India via global tenders have been scrapped so as to provide domestic small-scale industry an opportunity. After the recent outbursts with respect to China, the world is looking for trusted and reliable partner for manufacturing, and the Indian industry should make most of it. Yes, if they need to gear up their manufacturing facilities. Exports from India touched $314 billion in the financial year, that is 2019-2020, that is starting April to March, while imports were to 467 billion. Actually, a fallout from the COVID effect was favoring Indian CAD, that is current account deficit. Indonesia is a sleeping giant, the 16th largest economy and the 7th largest in PPP terms. Indonesia has created a place in the export of manufactured goods. Indonesia has a pretty much similar culture like India in terms of its bureaucracy. Like India, Indonesia will also stand to gain from the movement of multinational companies out of China. Trade between India and Indonesia is steadily rising with the value in favor of Indonesia. Out of $18 billion between the two countries, trade from Indonesia was 14 billion and to Indonesia just $4 billion. India and Indonesia have agreed to raise the bilateral trade to $50 billion. The areas of cooperation will be defense, maritime, security and trade and economy. Friends, the COVID era, the times that we are in now, and the reasons why we are conducting the event virtual mode rather than physically present in Jakarta. For the period after this pandemic, people as well as the government show less interest in investing and more interest in saving our capital. The staying alive is more important than becoming rich. The GDP growth rates across the world have taken a very big hit. Worldwide, GDP fell due to coronavirus in the following manner. The United States 9.1% decline, the UK 21.7%, Italy 17%, France 18.9%, Canada 13%, Japan 9.9%, and Indonesia 5.32%, while India minus 23%. China, which allegedly gave the coronavirus to the world, has recovered from the month of June, and import and export also increased. China had lockdown only in Wuhan area. The rest of the country was operating near normal all through the pandemic till now. In the first quarter of the pandemic, even China saw a dip of 6.8% in GDP. Friends, the COVID era has given us a record job losses, something which we have seen in 1930s depression. While the COVID-19 pandemic largely impacted negatively, but certainly the new normal have also been found in the world. The most significant one is that the world has accepted work from home and virtual offices. So friend, before I end, I would like to tell you a bit about the Prestige Group which I represent. I am the president of Prestige Group of Industries and the chairman of Prestige Education Foundation. At Prestige, we have interest into agro-based industries, and the founder chairman of Prestige Group, my revered father, Padma Shri Dr. Nemnath Jain, who incidentally entered the 90th year of his journey yesterday, is somebody we in the last 4 decades have established ourselves as India's leading export house and are present in more than 40 countries. The Prestige Institute and the Prestige Group of Industries, having its headquarters in Indore in the Central India region, is over 43 years old, involved in two primary activities: the soybean processing and edible oil industry, from the farm to the plate. And in the education sector, from KG to PG and even beyond with our research wing. The other locations, we are in Devas and Gwalior. In addition, an engineering institution and technology institute, two secondary schools are operated by the group. The upcoming university is in the next academic year is going to be the state-of-art university, which will provide global or the world-class education in relevant sectors of management, engineering, technology, science, and life sciences. And I would say that would also be available at very affordable costs. With that, I would like to give my talk an end to, but I'm open to any discussion, questions to anybody they may have. Thank you.